I'm grateful that you've invited me to share with you the story of these early months of the North Carolina chapter of the National Union of the Homeless. We have been blessed this Advent and Christmas season by the close partnership of NUH with Freedom Church during our winter offensive, and I'm grateful. A brief reminder, the Homeless Union's Winter Offensive is a series of synchronized actions and protests that take place from Thanksgiving through Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday in order to highlight the time of year when the poor and homeless experience the most deadly conditions and the highest rates of suicide and death. We work together to fulfill our mission statement, declaring that we commit our lives to ending homelessness and poverty and to work tirelessly for the human right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, for social and economic justice for all. Today's sacred text in the Gospel of Matthew speaks to the heart of our work to expose the alliance with violent power that we see in the festivals of American Christianity in the months of November through January, and in the ways that a homeless family's story is stripped of its truly revolutionary resistance to an empire's domination. We in the South especially understand that we have long been, and still are, in a battle to lift up the revolutionary nature of the stories and teachings in the Bible about Jesus and other leaders, and to defeat the lies being told about a Jesus who establishes power only for wealthy American Christians. So let me briefly review the history of North Carolina Homeless Union. Currently, we have two main organizers, Chris Noblet and myself. Movement leaders made investments in our political education via University of the Poor classes and Poor People's Campaign teachings. We worked together on a project of survival during the pandemic and learned important lessons from that experience. And conversations we had with National Union of the Homeless leaders during Poor People's Campaign actions in Washington, D.C. led us, Chris and me, to dream of an NUH chapter in our so-called progressive city of Durham, North Carolina. So early in 2024, we began learning all we could about the conditions and services homeless people face in our city. We got appointments with lots of nonprofits and city staff to learn what they were and weren't doing, and we started taking flasks of cocoa to the benches outside Durham's downtown library, where homeless people waited for the library to open its doors. We offered cups of cocoa and talked with folks to learn from them how they were surviving, why they were homeless, and what experiences they'd had with the shelter system. We contacted service providers that we learned about from these conversations, listening for anyone trying to uproot the systems which keep our people poor and homeless. We didn't find any, though we found several whose mission statements said that's what they were doing. We learned later that what we were doing is called a landscape assessment, and it's an ongoing project. We also started going to a Monday through Friday breakfast being offered by a local Episcopal church, a hot breakfast, where we could sit and eat with people, hear their stories, and share with them what being part of a homeless union could mean for us all. All the while, we were also learning from homeless union leaders like Kristen Colangelo and Willie Baptist, and being invited to membership assemblies in Pennsylvania and Maryland. Our next step was to start a small project of survival. Chris calls it a raggedy one. We set up a small table every Wednesday. We began by setting up a small table at a free store run by a homeless services nonprofit. And we offered blood pressure checks and water, and we had a storyboard inviting people to respond to a question: how would your life be different if housing and healthcare were human rights? But we got evicted after a couple of months because we were too political. So we took our table to the sidewalk outside the downtown shelter. But after a few months, that turned out not to feel very safe for ourselves and the people we were talking with. And so eventually we came back to that church breakfast, and that's where we are now every Wednesday morning. As we meet people who come to us for blood pressure checks or for water, or who we meet at the tables eating breakfast together, we also invite them to a twice monthly noontime meeting at a downtown church that gives us free space. Those meetings are still small, 6 folks usually, but it's where we deepen our relationships, dig down into the roots of the system that keeps us poor, and study with the Nonviolent Medicaid Army. We are also paying attention to bills moving through our legislature intending to criminalize homelessness, and we intend to speak and protest at committee meetings this spring when they take it up. During this year's winter offensive, we held our first longest night vigil with 15 to 20 folks attending. As Sam Cooke sings, a change is gonna come. We have a lot of dreams for growing our union in 2026. But we also understand that we grow at the speed of trust. And trust is hard for people who've been stomped on for so long. So today's sacred text describing death-dealing empire, we also see daily in our union members. Denial of healthcare and housing is its own kind of massacre. So Samuel injured his leg and he needs surgery, but the doctor won't operate because he doesn't have a place to recuperate. And homeless services can only offer him a place where his wife won't be allowed to live with him. And yet he needs her help as he heals from the surgery. A catch-22, I guess. Miss Imogene, a retired educator, was camping in a tent at a park, and park officials tore it down and threw away her walker and her medication. A union member is so discouraged by the barriers to getting shelter and that spike his anxiety, so he hides away in a tent. Our union is committed to building the leadership of members like these, and we have also already begun developing leaders in the capital city, Raleigh, and studying via Zoom with the Poor People's Campaign leader in Western North Carolina. As we all know at Freedom Church and in the National Union of the Homeless, you only get what you're organized to take. Thanks.